Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're a fintech builder, a CTO, or a lending executive, you already know that credit is changing at absolute breakneck speed. Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating blueprint I found for building an AI-powered loan underwriting platform perfectly tailored for 2026. We're going to figure out together exactly how to move away from those painfully slow manual processes and design a system that's fully automated, compliant, and highly scalable. Okay, let's dive right into this six-phase journey. We'll be hitting the MSME lending opportunity, alternative data, AI document processing, decision engines and XAI, security and cloud integration, and finally, testing and launch. Let's start things off with phase one, the MSME lending opportunity, and specifically, the trillion-dollar gap.
I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. $5.7 trillion. When I first saw this from the International Finance Corporation, it honestly blew my mind. That is the staggering global financing gap for micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. And you know what's really alarming? This gap is actually widening, particularly for women-led businesses. The core issue here is that traditional credit scoring models are just locking out millions of potential borrowers, including informal workers and micro-entrepreneurs. Why? Simply because they lack adequate formal credit histories. So there's this massive, completely untapped market out there just waiting for a platform that can accurately assess their risk.
Think about your current underwriting team. Right now, they're probably spending up to 40% of their day on, well, honestly, soul-crushing administrative tasks instead of actual risk review. It's just way too slow and incredibly costly. But by implementing an automated AI solution, lenders are suddenly seeing 60 to 70% faster approvals, and they're slashing their operational costs by 30 to 40%. The ROI here is crystal clear. And remember, AI doesn't replace your underwriting team, it actually frees them up to handle those complex, edge case files that legitimately require human judgment. Now that we understand what's at stake, let's move into phase two, policies and alternative data, which covers steps 1 and 2 of the build. Step 1 of building your platform is all about translating your business logic into code. You have to clearly define your underwriting policy up front. What credit scores are you actually going to accept? What's your maximum debt-to-income ratio? This rulebook essentially becomes the brains baseline that your AI is going to follow. Then step 2 is gathering the alternative data needed to feed this system, which is absolutely critical if you want to reach that massive market of thin-file borrowers we just talked about.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Traditional models rely heavily on credit bureau data, right? But that completely misses the unbanked or the newly banked MSME. Alternative data changes the game entirely. We're talking about mobile money transactions, digital wallet data, point-of-sale systems, even utility payments and geolocation. In regions like Africa and South Asia, mobile money data is a phenomenal indicator of a business's cash flow and reliability. By layering this alternative data into your platform, you can build a highly accurate risk profile for a business that a traditional bank would just outright reject.
Moving right along to phase 3, AI and document processing, covering steps 3 and 4. Welcome to the agentic era of AI. As a recent UiPath report highlighted, we are way beyond basic chatbots at this point. You need an intelligent document processing layer that uses agentic AI. These are software agents acting completely autonomously to read uploaded files, extract structured data from things like bank statements or IDs, and then input it directly into your system. Think of it this way. Absolutely no one on your team should ever have to manually copy numbers from a PDF into a spreadsheet again. The agents handle all that repetitive extraction, and they only pass clean, structured data downstream. But to actually pull this off, you need a robust, modern tech stack. For step 3 and 4's technical requirements, top developers are using tools like AWS Textract or Google Document AI for that document processing layer. For the backend, cloud-first languages like Go or Java running on Kubernetes are pretty much the standard now. Why? Because you want to process thousands of applications concurrently on your absolute busiest days without your servers even breaking a sweat. And then you pair this backend with TypeScript-based web portals and native Kotlin or Swift mobile clients for high availability and super clean auditing. Let's transition over to phase 4, which brings us to step 5, decision engines and XAI. Okay, what's really crucial to understand here is the massive industry shift happening right now from black box to glass box machine learning. For a long time, the industry was using these really complex models like deep neural networks that operated as totally opaque black boxes. The predictive power was fantastic, but the logic was entirely hidden.
Today, because of rigorous regulatory frameworks like the EU AI Act and updated NAIC principles, that opacity is a massive liability. You literally cannot legally deny a loan without providing a specific, meaningful reason. So your decision engine absolutely must be built on Glassbox Explainable AI, or XAI, which guarantees transparency, traceability, and strict compliance.
So how do we do that? To actually implement this Glassbox architecture, developers rely on frameworks like Shape and Lime. Lime works by creating local explanations, so it slightly tweaks the input data just to see how the prediction changes, which identifies the most influential features for a specific borrower's decision. Shape goes even further. Based on cooperative game theory, it assigns a specific, hard mathematical value to every single feature, showing exactly how much a factor, like say a history of utility payments, contributed to the final risk score. With tools like these, when a regulator knocks on your door and asks, "Hey, why was this loan denied?" you don't just shrug. Your platform can hand them an exact, mathematically sound receipt.
Next up, Phase 5 pushes us into the real enterprise-grade requirements, security and cloud integration for Steps 6 and 7.
In fintech, security isn't just a feature, right? It's the whole ballgame. All sensitive borrower data at rest has to be protected with AES 256 encryption, while your data in transit uses TLS 1.3. You must implement robust identity and access management, or IAM, using zero-trust architecture and single sign-on, just to prevent unauthorized internal access. And on top of all that, the platform has to be designed from day one to meet global standards, meaning full compliance with SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, and major data privacy laws like GDPR and CCPA.
For Step 7, we have to talk about integration. Listen, your beautifully designed AI decision engine is completely useless if it just lives in a silo. You have to orchestrate APIs to connect this new intelligent layer to your existing core banking systems, your loan origination software, and external data providers like Plaid or AMIX. And this is often where timelines tend to stretch out. Because, let's be honest, connecting a cutting-edge AI brain to a 30-year-old legacy banking system is rarely a walk in the park. Smart builders plan extensive time for API orchestration to make sure data flows securely and instantly across the entire ecosystem. Finally, we arrive at Phase 6, testing, compliance, and launch. This is Step 8. Let's ground all this theory in some hard numbers for a second. Budgeting for this kind of platform really rests on three essential pillars: build, run, and comply. Build is going to cover your labor and your SaaS tools. Run covers your cloud hosting and observability. And comply spans all your audits, legal counsel, and capital reserves. If you're building a narrow, minimum viable product, say for a payment facilitator, you might be starting somewhere around $400,000. But if you're scaling up to a multi-country digital bank with complex lending features, your budget can easily climb past $2 million before you even officially launch.
Which brings us to our final step, the launch checklist. You definitely don't just flip a switch and hope for the best. First, you need to run your new AI model against historical loan files to see if its decisions actually align with known outcomes. Crucially, you absolutely must audit the system for algorithmic bias. If your approval rates differ unfairly across protected classes, it's not just a bad ethics issue, it is a massive reputational and compliance risk. Ensuring total fair lending compliance is strictly non-negotiable. And once you're live, the system has to generate immutable logs recording every single transaction and decision trail for any future regulatory audits.
So, we've covered the opportunity, the data, the AI models, the explainability, the security, and the launch. The technology to radically transform small business lending and unlock literally trillions in capital is sitting right in front of us. The only question left is your underwriting platform stuck in the past, or are you truly ready for 2026? Think about it and start building. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.